Listen!
Hello and welcome to NVC, IGN's Nintendo podcast. This week, the week of September 17th, we will be talking about Super Mario Bros. 35th anniversary, which was this past Sunday, and 3D All-Stars is also out this week. So basically, we're talking about a lot of Mario. I'm your host, Casey DeFreitas, and this week I am joined by Zach Ryan.
Hey, what's up?
Peer Schneider.
Happy birthday.
And Ryan McCaffrey. Welcome.
So, are you saying happy birthday to me, Per? Because mine's in a couple days.
When is it?
What?
I'm the 20th, and it's my 40th, so this is the big one.
Happy
It's
birthday.
all downhill from here. Thank you. Nintendo got me 3D All-Stars for my birthday. Not literally, they haven't sent me a free copy. I'm waiting for my Best Buy order to ship, but that's the game they released for my birthday, which I'm happy about.
Hey, is your order getting delayed at all? Have you seen?
I haven't seen anything yet. I pre-ordered from Best Buy right in the morning. I got it in quick. So
I've been seeing a lot of like horror stories on Twitter and stuff of people claiming that their physical edition pre-orders are being delayed at different retailers.
There's an easy fix. Digital.
Oh, yeah, that is the fix. Why not both?
It's time.
I know a lot of people are getting both. But yeah, let's start off by talking about what everyone wants to talk about, and that is Super Mario Bros. 3D All-Stars is out on Friday, which is tomorrow if you're listening on the day of release.
I hate
and
you,
Zach
Zach.
is the one who got to play it early, and he didn't do a review, but IGN did publish an analysis. And I guess the first question, can you say why we did an analysis versus a review?
Yeah, so I go into this a little bit in the analysis itself too, but so the idea behind these port analysis, and we've done them recently for Persona 4 Golden on PC and Horizon Zero Dawn on PC. It's essentially when things are ported to different platforms without like significant upgrades that warrant a new opinion on them, right? Like Super Mario 3D All-Stars is a collection of ports. And so, and I know a lot of people in the comments are going to be like, oh, actually, they're emulations. Yes, it's true that these are emulations. People have figured out like by due in large part to the leaks that Nintendo has emulated. But emulation here is the medium, the train in which Nintendo has chosen to port these to Switch. So for all intents and purposes, they're technically the same thing. But because they are just straight up ports of Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy, the original review scores still stand. This analysis is more so about how do these games run on the Switch? What is the, what's the bonuses of getting this collection in terms of like extras, bells and whistles, etc. So that's why we elected to do an analysis versus a review. And so, yeah, in that, I think people have been talking to me online all day today about how it seems like I'm really down on the games, and I'm not necessarily down on the games. What I'm down on is the collection, right? So the collection is called Super Mario 3D All-Stars, and if I can speak to Nintendo fans everywhere, like take a look back at Super Mario All-Stars for the SNES and now available on Switch, right? Here you had a collection of games that had completely redrawn sprites and backgrounds, and Nintendo went through and tweaked the physics of the games to better reflect the feel of Super Mario World, and they offered an entirely new game that was unavailable to the US until Super Mario All-Stars, and that was the Lost Levels. And in that collection is very much like it's like really worth the price of admission at that time. To call this Super Mario 3D All-Stars and have it just be the 3 games and the 3 soundtracks is like a little bit of a bummer, right? It does feel like a very bare bones package because there are a lot of things that could have been done specifically in this collection that would reflect the previous Super Mario All-Stars collection. And honestly, like, Ryan, I'm not trying to sell you out here, but you've never played Super Mario 64 or Super Mario Sunshine, right?
Correct. And I won't be alone in. Oh no, I love Sunshine. That's the thing I'm most looking forward to in this collection. I mean, a Galaxy, like you, Zach, Galaxy's my favorite of this bunch, but Sunshine's the one I'm most looking forward to playing. because I have super fond memories of it. I think I have a stronger positive opinion of that game, both then, at least at the time, than you did, as you noted in your analysis. But yeah, like this will be a chance for a new generation of Nintendo fans to experience one or more of these for the first time. For me, I went full PC gamer for those years, and I didn't have an N64, so I never played, and I just have never picked it up in any of the subsequent re-releases. So I am looking forward to playing 64, but I'm definitely here for the nostalgia trip of Sunshine, because that hasn't been on anything, as you noted in your analysis. That hasn't been on anything since GameCube, and then Galaxy is probably my second favorite Super Mario game, period, ever.
So the deal with this collection that makes it a tough pill to swallow for me is that a lot of people are going to be coming to Super Mario 64 through this collection. A lot of people are going to be coming to Super Mario Galaxy in this collection. And I feel like Nintendo really had an opportunity to go in the same way that they did in the original All-Stars and make some significant tweaks that would have helped make these games more accessible, make them more modern. And they've elected not to do that. And like specifically with Super Mario 64, obviously a groundbreaking game, clearly helped define what 3D action platformers, what video games would be moving forward. But that game is 24 years old and it feels 24 years old. And the camera is, and like, I know people are going to pop off in the comments on this. The camera's bad. Like it's straight up a problem in this
in a 2020 context, you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like it feels to me like people coming to that game now, and I'm curious to see what you have to say after you get an opportunity to play it. But like, you know, I wonder how many people are going to finish this game because they're going to get to the more difficult levels and be like, this camera sucks. Like I can't do the things that I want to do easily because the camera doesn't move in the way that it should in 2020.
Particularly when we've been trained by the subsequent modern Marios to have a better camera.
Yeah. I think by your argument, what you're saying is basically people who experienced this game way back when are going to jump back in, and then nostalgia is going to carry them, and they understand the shortcomings, right? They might have forgotten about them, but they'll forgive them. Whereas like this was an opportunity to show ingenious level design and a great game, and the music in Mario 64 is so freaking good, man.
Well, and that's the thing is like playing Super Mario 64 now, it's really amazing to see the groundwork that it laid for Mario games and 3D games that came after it. Like playing levels like Wet Dry World, you can totally see it's reminiscent of Ocarina of Time, right? Like playing a level like Tick-Tock Clock, you can absolutely see like Darker Side of the Moon in Mario Odyssey, in that the precision platforming that has to take place there. But it's obtuse in the way that is kind of out of the realm of discussion in 2020, because it's difficult, right? Like it's difficult because the camera doesn't work super well, and it's difficult because you have to make a lot of blind jumps in later levels and stuff, and like that just, it's disappointing to me that it's not included as like, and I said this in the analysis as well, like it's not a toggleable option. What would have been great is the opportunity to play like Super Mario 64 Definitive Edition on this collection, or original Super Mario 64. And each of these games has a few of those things. Like Super Mario Sunshine lacks inverted controls. And that,
Ryan is going to be mad.
I mean, I've been in Halo, trained me to be an inverted player on a gamepad. Although on mouse and keyboard, I'm just play normal view. But yeah, on gamepad, I'm inverted. So what I actually, now you've got me wondering, Zach, if it was originally that way on the GameCube, or if they've like actually, they haven't removed the option, right? I must have just gotten by back in the GameCube days, but now it's going to be tougher because I'm used to playing inverted.
Well, the other Nintendo GameCube games and 64 games, like all the Zeldas, were automatically inverted and you couldn't change it back then. And then when they came out with Wind Waker on the Wii U, they made it so it's not inverted and you can't change it. So did they do that with Sunshine?
I'm pretty sure that Sunshine was not inverted when right, Pear? Like you I feel like you've played it more recently than I have.
I just always adjust, so like I don't actually perceive it like that. I just get used to it, but I know that it's an issue for some.
Yeah,
well, it's just the fact of the matter is like there's no
but it's going to screw me up when I go back to play any other game for a while.
You utilize an over-the-shoulder perspective in Super Mario Sunshine a lot to like aim your stream of water, and there's no inverted option there, so it is going to mess a lot of people up. Just like weirdly in Super Mario 64, they've swapped the X-axis camera controls, so the X-axis camera controls are actually inverted, which is like very bizarre to play now because like it messes up your muscle memory and timing when you're like trying to swap the camera, move the camera around. There's just like these weird little tweaks that are made throughout the collection that are kind of surprising to me, right? Like just weird.
But that's not changed from the original, is it? Because like in Mario 64, you control the cameraman. So when you tell the cameraman to go right, the viewpoint shifts left.
Mark Medina and I got into a bit of a conversation about this. I won't say argument, but a bit of a conversation about this. We were talking about it, but he showed me in emulation, he's using the controller to move the camera like in an uninverted way, like in the exact way that you would want it to go. And he was playing an emulated version of the original 1996 code before the Shindo version, which is the Shindo version is what is included on this collection. And it's a
Rumble Pack game. Yeah.
It's essentially the international version that we see now, right? Like it's an updated version of Super Mario 64's code that has a couple of bug fixes. It takes out the backwards long jump glitch, which is like hugely popular for speedrunners of this game. And so, he showed me on his emulation, like, okay, this is how the camera worked in the original, and this is how it works on this collection. And it's different. It's backwards, which is a bummer.
And I did just look it up, and Super Mario Sunshine had inverted camera controls.
Okay, so yeah, that was the conversation a lot. Anyway, yeah.
But this is the point. Like, I wasn't as disappointed as some that this was just going to be straight ports of the games. But I expected them to do some mild tweaks like that. I thought they would do some,
or having more like 2020 quality of life options.
Yeah, that seems, that just shows you. Yeah, it's the exact game code. They didn't touch it.
Right.
And I just wonder why that is, because honestly, it isn't for a large corporation like that. It isn't that hard to put people on this game and figure out how to make some changes. Just like it's not that hard to translate Mario Super Picross into English if you really wanted to, right? But they just choose to release these games in pure emulated form. I don't think it's preservationism. I think it's just, I feel like they were struggling to get their holiday lineup ready.
Middle line, like it wasn't all out remade to be better, and it wasn't all out preserved. So it's some weird middle.
I think and they know this is going to be a big seller this fall. The physical version's already selling out at pre-orders. Like, they knew this was going to do well. They could have invested a little bit of time and resources into some of these quality of life things that Zach has rightly pointed out.
So
I bet this was a late project to fill a gap in their release schedule.
Yeah, and I saw some rumors about like people hacking because the game did leak a couple of days early, and so that's how people found out that there was the code was being emulated on the Switch and not straightforward ports. I did see some rumors flying around that people hacked that leaked code to find the earliest files that are dated on the leak were from February. So that means that this game started like this project came together very, very quickly. Supposedly, don't quote me on that. It might be wrong, but
it could have been planned as separate releases that you just pay for on download for $15 or $20, right?
Right.
And like, I gotta think the original release was 3D World Remake, and that got pushed into next year because that's arriving now very, very late for an anniversary celebration, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it already is.
So. I just want to say this to everybody that's listening, everybody that's watching. I love all three of these games. I think all three of these games are very, very good games, great games. Super Mario Galaxy, and I said this in my analysis, is, I think, for what it's worth, the best 3D platformer ever made. Like, I think that game is amazing, top down. And to play it here, especially like on a Pro controller where you can use, you play the Pro controller just like with Odyssey, but you have the pointer built in so you can collect your lums and do your spins by shaking and stuff like that. It feels phenomenal. And like, the whole time that I was playing Galaxy, I had this big stupid grin on my face. You know, that special grin that Mario gives you when you're playing it, right? Like I felt that for all three of these games. I just think as a collection as a whole, it's a bit of a disappointment. And yes, we are a Nintendo podcast, and yes, we're all Nintendo fans, but it's also important to be critical when that criticism is warranted. And I definitely feel like that's where I'm coming from. If this was a review, I probably would have given the collection a 7, but this is a group of games that we rewarded 9.4, 9.8, 9.7. Like, they're obviously amazing games that shouldn't be missed if you haven't played them. So
awesome. I'm really looking forward to playing them, which is funny because I could hook up all these systems and play the originals too, but there's just something different when you get to play it on the Switch.
Yeah,
and
Pear, you still have a TV with RCA outputs?
No, but I have a converter.
Oh, nice.
Nice. For my GameCube, which is freaking awesome.
That's
cool.
Totally honest, I was going to play Sunshine, but now hearing that I can't invert the controls, I might not even get it anymore. I don't know.
It. You gotta.
Oh, it's so good. I
hate games when you can't invert the controls. I just
for me,
Sunshine level.
Sunshine it really is like a summary escape, which in 2020 and this summer I need that in my life right now. So I am looking forward, even though it's going to frustrate me for the first probably half an hour or so as I try to get used to uninverted look on a game that, as Zach pointed out, you need to shoot the flood. It's going to make me mad for a while, but yeah, that game it's gotten hated on over the years, and I just I'm not with that hate at all. I think it's just it's a bright, summery game in tone and execution, and it's a great platformer. Yeah. And I know a lot of people are going to play it for the first time in this collection, and I'm glad people are going to get to play it, even if it's not enhanced at all, really, and they don't have invert camera options. I'm still glad it's coming back.
Yeah, I put this in the analysis, and that game came out to pretty unanimous critical reception. Like, most outlets really loved that game, and I think over time it became sort of it was derided. It's only been in the last couple of decades since the game's release that people are like, oh, actually, that's a pretty bad game. I don't think that. I've never felt that way. I've always really loved Super Mario Sunshine. I think that of these three games, it feels equal to Super Mario Galaxy in the way that you can string together all these long jumps to hovers to dives to triple jumps. Like, it just feels so, for lack of a better word, fluid, right? Like, it's a really
creative.
Great, right? I think what hamstrings Super Mario Sunshine a little bit is that they overcorrected from Super Mario 64, where Super Mario 64 is get to the end of the level and get the star. Super Mario Sunshine has all these different level objectives and stages, and it's a little bit in one level you have to jump on a certain pipe until a specific fruit drops, and then you take that fruit to a Yoshi egg, and then you ride Yoshi to spit his weird stomach acid at fish, and then the fish form the platforms, and you jump off the it's just really kind of obtuse in that way, but it's not bad. And I think people kind of got on my case because I said that the game tonally is weird as hell, but it is a super weird game. It starts with Mario going to jail. It's a very strange game tonally, but it's still one of the best platformers ever made, and I still really love that game. I said in my analysis that it's a good game, a very good game, but I don't feel like it's a great game. So
it's funny because you can see where Nintendo was in their kind of maturity as storytellers with that game. A lot of the GameCube games, the story sequences are afterthoughts, and they look like they just were farted out by a programmer. Mario is when he's sitting in jail, it just looks wrong, and the voice acting of the Piantas and is objection overruled. It's somebody's just farting this out just because they have to explain why he's here and why he's in jail. And the same thing happened with Luigi's Mansion, the original as well.
Not Wind Waker though. Wind Waker's great.
No, for sure. And that series they tried to always tell the story really well with cutscenes, and you can see how Sunshine was this step into a direction that was more Zelda-like, but they weren't ready for that story stuff. And the Piantas are just awful.
They're terrible.
Character design and everything is so bad. But I have so many fond memories of Mario Sunshine. They're these places that really There are levels that play with height, where you jump down into the water from really high up. There's speeding over the water super fast, like these almost wave race sequences and stuff. It's a really fun game.
Zach, I have a question for you. Having waiting for my copy on Friday. So you in your analysis, you specifically called out that you spent a good amount of time, like you preferred Galaxy specifically with the Pro Controller. My intention would be to play this entire thing, all 3 games, with the Pro Controller docked on the TV. Is that like, do you think that's the best way to go for all 3 games, or do you feel like the Joy-Con?
I think I spent probably 75% of my time in the review playing through a Pro Controller on the TV. And I should also caveat this by saying I did minimum shine runs for every game. So I did 70 stars in 64, 50 shines in Sunshine, and 60 stars in Galaxy to complete each game. But I played majority on Pro Controller, and they all feel great on Pro Controller. Galaxy does lend itself to Joy-Con controls because it most closely replicates the one-to-one feel of the Wiimote and Nunchuck. But like I said, like the using the Pro Controller as a pointer is equally great. The only thing about Galaxy that's a little bit weird is playing it in handheld mode. You have to take your right hand, you instead of a pointer, you use the touch screen to collect lums, to grab on to pull stars or the sling pods. And so you have to take your right hand off of the face buttons to collect lums during movement. And so that kind of breaks the flow of movement, but it does do a couple interesting things. It makes grabbing onto pull stars and using the sling pods like way easier. Like for some of those like difficult sling pods levels, I prefer that handheld mode because you can it's like using an iPhone, you can just like, oh, that's lined up, that's perfect. You can just do it kind of rapid fire. And then there's a couple of race levels in Galaxy that use the tilt controls from, if you remember, I think you held the Wiimote horizontally and tilted to kind of control like your manta ray that you're riding on or whatever. And that actually feels like much more improved using the Pro Controller. I felt I had better control on some of those levels. So
silly Zach, you should have kids like Ryan and I, because we can have player 2 grab all the lums.
Yeah, that's true.
Make him do the dirty work.
Yeah. It's got that daddy mode in it, remember?
I am interested to see like what people think of playing it on the Switch Lite, because your only real option there is to do the touchscreen controls, or hooking up separate Joy-Con and figuring out how to like stand your Switch Lite up. But, yeah.
I'm sure there's a stand out there now with like a magnifying glass on it, right? Kind of like how they had those things for Game Boy Colors, but But anyway, we were just talking about Super Mario Bros. Not the 35th anniversary, but 3D All-Stars for quite a while now. But did you know it's also the 35th anniversary this week? I'm sure you know, because we've been talking about it for like a month now, and it's been all over the internet, and that's why we got this game. But on Sunday, on September 13th, marked the 35th anniversary of the release of the original Super Mario Bros. For the NES in 1985. And I don't know if any of you want to like talk about this. I'm not going to get super deep into it, but from what I've heard, that the release of that video game revived video games after a crash in 1983, and it's because of that game.
I lived through the crash, as I'm old, like Ryan. I lived through the crash in that I completely lost interest in video games after the Atari started to fail. I did re-engage a little bit in the home computer age, if you remember Commodore 64 and Atari. But the NES actually passed me by too. It wasn't until the Super NES, the Super Famicom, that I got back into it. But I knew all my friends were talking about Mario and the NES, and I just wasn't ready to go back yet. I don't know, Ryan, did you get the NES when it came out?
Yeah, that's interesting that you and I have kind of complementary. Like you're a bit older than me, but so like I said, I'm turning 40, so I was kind of the right age as a kid to be, to catch the Nintendo fever. I didn't get one right away. It was not a thing that like I was completely unaware of video games until after the NES came out, because again, like my early childhood, video games were effectively not a thing because of the crash. So the Nintendo comes out, and I guess it must have been one friend or a couple of friends get it. And it took a year or two, I would say, after the thing had been out in the United States where I tried it at some point. I mean, I guess I had been playing, maybe, I don't know if I've been playing any games in the arcades, but in any case, it was really Super Mario Brothers when playing that at somewhere, friend's house, what have you. And Super Mario Brothers was the game that turned me into a gamer. Like, that's why I'm sitting here today at the end of the day. And so, yeah, I got mine a few years after launch. And yeah, Super Mario Brothers was the game that set me on my path. And here I am. So I'll always be, emotionally indebted to Mario and the franchise for that. And that's, for me, just as a quick sort of aside, I loved the original Zelda too, but for me, I've just always, I think I love that Mario has always reinvented himself across the mainline Mario games, whereas Zelda, really, Breath of the Wild was a much needed reinvention, but I feel like Zelda over the years had been more iterative. And so I think Mario, I've always connected with the Mario games more because they've never been afraid to just throw everything out and just reinvent the entire genre as they go. So that's why I do love this collection, or I plan to love it when my copy arrives in the mail. Thanks to Zach, though, for at least tempering my expectations, and I am glad that this collection is going to be out there and for a new generation. Although thinking about it, like cynically thinking about it, with, I guess, Mario Sunshine's 20th anniversary would be in 2022, and the 25th anniversary of 64 would be next year. So this port collection probably ruins any chance of a full blown remake, like in the Odyssey engine or whatever, of like a more complete ground up kind of celebration of these games, because that would have been cool. Like I would happily pay $60 each for full on remakes of these three games with full 1080p 60 frames.
Don't say that too loudly. Don't let them know.
They're not going to do it now. At least not.
No, they're going to take years.
Maybe it's limited release because they're planning on doing that for games.
They would have me. I would probably buy them again, but I'll take what I can get here.
So I want to remind you guys, on the shelf behind me are packs of Nintendo playing cards, Hanafuda cards, which date back decades. Remember, this is a company that's more than 100 years. So where other businesses have a 3-year business plan, they probably have one for the next 100 years. There's a Mario 64 full remake somewhere coming in 2042 for you. But no, I'll say they do have one studio that they work with on remakes, Grezzo. And Grezzo gave us Link's Awakening. We haven't heard what they did Luigi's Mansion 2018. We don't know what their game is for this year. Maybe they worked on Pikmin. We don't know. But I have a feeling they always have them tinkering away on some sort of redo. But yeah, I wouldn't guess that it was Mario 64. I feel like the closest thing you're going to get is that final world in Odyssey for now. But back to the history quickly. So yeah, the original Mario Brothers was out in 1985 in Japan on the Famicom, and then obviously on the NES. And you were saying the series was reinventing itself. The first sequel, which is Lost Levels now, was kind of a reinvention because Nintendo said, oh yeah, you think this game was too easy? Well, try this. And so they made basically the competition super hard version. And then the game that we in the West got obviously was a remake of Doki Doki Panic, right? Like a changed version of that game where the gameplay couldn't be more different, right? Like the way that you pick up turnips and all of that. And you could stand on enemies, which isn't something that you ever do in the original games. Like enemy means death, and in this case it's no, enemy mouth means death. You can stand on top. It's just really interesting how the series has changed over the years, and that's still happening. Even if you look at New Super Mario Brothers on the Wii U and you say, well, it looks kind of like the original Mario Brothers, it's 4-player. To do that game as a 4-player game means creating a completely different game,
So there's a very brief history, but before, I wanted to ask all of you, do you think is the best Mario game out of all the traditional Marios?
Mine's Super Mario World.
Okay. Zach?
Honestly, it's a cop-out, but I would say it's probably a two-way tie. I think the best 2D game is Super Mario World, and I think the best 3D game is Super Mario Galaxy.
What about you,
Yeah,
Ryan?
I guess if I'm gonna cheat like Zach just did, for me, I would Super Mario Brothers 3 is the all time. That's the GOAT for me. But on the 3D side, I'm completely with Zach on Galaxy.
And you know, a lot of people say that Galaxy 2 is better, and I totally get that. But for some reason, I think it's just because I played it first and it like totally blew my mind first. Like Galaxy has always been the front runner of that series. Not to say that Galaxy 2 doesn't have some amazing moments, but yeah, just like that, you know, Mario's in space and he's running around these 3D spheres, and I have to think about how I play Mario completely differently was the thing that really like
I could not agree with you more, Zach. I do actually think, at least in my recollection, because I haven't played Galaxy 2 since it came out, but I remember my feeling like Galaxy 2 was technically, I thought it was a better game. I mean, it had Yoshi, but yeah, like Galaxy 1 was again that total reinvention. Like Mario had just done something that we'd never seen in platforming before. And so yeah, I'm totally with you on Galaxy.
Even in
1.
this most recent playthrough of Galaxy, and this is probably like the 4th or 5th time I've played through Galaxy, there's moments where I was just like, I can't believe that I'm doing this. Like I can't believe that this is what's in this game, and that to me is that feeling that elevates it above the sequel. But yeah.
What about you, Casey?
I don't know, but did you know that there are 3 Mario games in Metacritic's top 20 highest scoring games, and those are Super Mario Galaxy, Galaxy 2, and Odyssey. And all 3 of those have 97s. But IGN has only given a couple 10s, and that has also been Odyssey, Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, Super Mario Galaxy 2.
I'd have given Galaxy 1 and 2 10s had I been working in IGN at that time.
Wow.
For some reason, I thought you reviewed Super Mario Galaxy 2 for IGN. Is that not true, Ryan?
No. What year was that
Odyssey,
one again?
though.
Was that
that would have been 2009?
Yeah, that was before I worked here.
Okay.
So I want to be clear. The original Mario 64 actually got a 10 on IGN. It's just that we changed our review scale.
Oh.
We used to have hats as a scale on n64.com. And I think Doug Perry reviewed it originally. And back then reviews were only like this big. But I think he gave it was either 10 stars out of 10 or 10 hats out of 10. I think they had to replace the hats because of copyright infringement questions from Nintendo saying, don't make your site look so much of like the official one. And then later we rescored a lot of the full scale games to having like the dot whatever. And I think that's when we picked like 9.8 or whatever it got.
I have no regrets about giving Odyssey a 10. I remember at the time there were a number of people that were like, oh, it's not that, it's not a 10, blah, blah, blah. But that's still one of my favorite reviews that I've been lucky enough to do at IGN, because I feel like I did a good job of conveying to what Zach was saying about Galaxy. I feel like I did a good job of conveying the joy that I felt playing that video game in that review. And just such a tremendous experience. If you have not played Super Mario Odyssey and you're an NVC listener, please fix that and play Odyssey. It's tremendous.
I think everybody and their mom ordered this game, right? The collection.
Yeah.
It sold so well already. I think chances are everybody's finally going to play it.
Yeah, I mean, we might as well throw that in here now, but it's the physical copies are all sold out everywhere. You can't get a physical copy anymore.
They've got to do another run for Black Friday, right? I mean, that would be leaving a ton of money on the table.
No,
Ryan,
they totally
you were correct that Galaxy did come out in 2010.
Okay.
I just wanted to, make that quick correction. Yeah.
Good memory.
IGN, we run deals content on IGN. We've got little pre-order links next to articles and stuff, and they're placed by a separate team. It's not the editors who do that. And this collection is the most pre-ordered thing through IGN in the history of IGN. So
not the most pre-ordered Nintendo game, like the most pre-ordered thing ever. Period.
Yeah.
So more than any console, more than any game.
So that should give you an idea that it's just going to do incredible numbers.
Yep. I'm have something. I could start a news conversation, but I'm not going to. So instead, I'm just going to say my first Mario game was Super Mario World. So I don't know if that is maybe the best, but it's probably my personal favorite. I actually really like Super Mario Bros. 2, even though it's not technically the second one. But those two, I think, are my favorite Mario games that I've played.
I've said it many times on this podcast, but I think that Super Mario World is the only game ever made that's actually a perfect game. I think it's a perfect video game.
It really is incredible. I was thinking that the other day too. I was playing digging into some co-op games with my daughter, and like just thinking about how Super Mario World has aged, like how perfectly it has aged. You're talking about Mario 64 and the game struggling with the camera and how it's kind of tough to play this game today. Like Mario World does not have any of these issues. Like,
and never will. Like,
it's just so timeless look wise too. It's so good. Like,
I don't know,
some people may complain about the slipperiness of the controls are a little slippery. You have to get used to that, but
I don't know what retrospectives have been done on Super Mario World, but gosh, in a perfect world, in a non-COVID world, and a world where I spoke fluent Japanese, which is I don't speak a word, man, I would love to just go and speak to that entire development team about the development of that game. And they were making the launch game, the killer app, the pack-in game, which of course we don't have anymore, really. The pack-in game for the next generation Nintendo. Like, it would be so much fun to sit down and get inside the minds of those people that made that game.
There's a little bit of that in the, there's a documentary that I think some of us have already seen, the Console Wars documentary that's going to be on Hulu, I think, right? Based on the book. And that one has a lot of the back and forth in it between, the two system apps,
right,
like the killer apps, Mario versus Sonic. I think most of the interviews are from the US side of the business. So you're getting like, classic NOA people, because Nintendo's Japanese designers are a little elusive. It's tough.
Right. That's part of the problem. Yeah. That's why it'd be so great to sit down with these people. They tend to not do that on the Japanese development side of things.
I totally agree. Like, if you go back to that game now, like if you have never played Super Mario World, you really got it. It's like just the simple concept of a character riding another, like riding a horse, in this case Yoshi, like that mechanic and how it works and how it feels, and the fact that you can jump off him and use it to get higher. Like, there's so much nuance to the game design. It's really incredible still.
But with that, I did want to, so we were just talking about our favorite Mario games, and I did post an article asking for the audience favorite Mario games. And so I wanted to take a look at that. They're called Yappas. And if you're not familiar, this is a video commenting tool at the bottom of every IGN article, but sometimes for Nintendo Voice Chat and like Unlocked, Ryan's Xbox podcast, we put out questions that you can answer and then we play on the show like we're doing right now. And this first one is from Nathan, and his favorite Mario, Super Mario Bros. 3.
Hey, NVC, hope you guys are doing well. I listen to your show every week. My favorite game is Super Mario Bros. 3 on the NES, and I believe it is the series perfected. With the introduction of multiple new power-ups, mysterious-themed worlds, and all new enemies, this game defined what the Mushroom Kingdom is today. I find the levels, with their emphasis on quick acrobatics, work extremely well with the core of the series versus the exploration and revisiting of levels done in later games. I love every single Mario game, but Super Mario 3 is the series perfected. I also got to say that the Nintendo Power Guidebook for this game was epic when I was a kid, giving names to all the enemies in the game. Lastly, it's played with the best controller in the whole world.
Nice.
Oh, then there it is in his background. Yeah. Super Mario Bros. 3 did. Sorry, I was just going to say it did introduce a lot of things that were then used in like all Mario games after the fact. Yeah.
So Ryan, that's yours, right?
I'm with him. Yeah, Super Mario Brothers 3. I mean, all the different suits that Mario could get. I mean, it was the music, just everything about that game. After 1, of course, being my entree into video games, period, and then 2, to Pear's point earlier, being just totally different, and then 3 kind of came back to that original style of 1, but evolved it hugely. And 3. And then I also was exactly the right age to be susceptible to the marketing of The Wizard, the movie with Fred Savage that came out before the game did. And I was like, Super Mario Brothers 3. And so, I was marketed to perfectly, but also that game turned out to be perfect.
By three, Nintendo's design team and programming team had become so proficient that they overcame some of the earlier challenges to making the game they wanted to make. If you go back to Super Mario, right? Like, it scrolls to the right, but you can't go back, right? The screen shuts you off. Whereas, like, as they got better and better at using the hardware, they were able to solve those issues and really make the games they wanted to make. And 3 just has so much going on with multi-level scrolling and like moving ships and all of that. It's just a fantastic game, and it's on the same hardware that Super Mario World benefited from, having all these fancy new effects with Mode 7 and all of that, and freaking sound chip. It was amazing.
And this next Yappa is from Brennan, whose favorite is Super Mario Bros. 2.
Which one?
Brennan?
Hi, this is Brennan Bova from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. My favorite Super Mario game, an unusual pick, but it's because it was the first game I ever played, is Super Mario Brothers 2. And I always played as Peach because she could fly, and that made it easier. And I don't know, I still have a really special place in my heart for that game, partially because of how unusual it is, and I mean, just by virtue of it not technically being a Mario game, it's completely unlike every other Mario game. And I really dig that.
Yeah, I just want to play that.
Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yeah,
I
100% agree.
Is my favorite NES. Yeah, that's my favorite NES Mario game. Like in terms of the original 3, that's the one I've probably played the most.
Yeah, same.
I always wondered how people here perceived it. Like because I lived in Japan. I went to Japan right after high school, right? And Mario Brothers 2 was obviously a different game there. And USA, it was called USA, and it was always regarded kind of like as this odd game. Like you could tell people were like, it's too different. Was that the same case here, or were people just happy with the changes?
I don't remember anybody being like weirded out by it at all. Like it was just, this is Super Mario Brothers 2, and it's totally different. And I didn't come to learn until years later that it was actually a different game that became Super Mario Brothers 2. And also, yes, I use Peach. Peach is my go-to in Super Mario Run, largely for that reason as well. So I'm totally with Brennan on that.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Nathan and Brennan, for those yaps. I actually did want to move on into more news territory because I know, Ryan, you do have prior engagements that you have to go do, but I did want to get your opinion now that we know the prices of the new Xbox coming out this fall and the new PlayStation coming out this fall. How do you think that would affect Nintendo? And I wanted you here because you're our Xbox guy. So for everyone out there who doesn't know, Xbox Series X is $499 and the Series S is $299, and they're coming out on November 10th. And we just learned today, the day that we were recording this, that the PlayStation 5 is coming out on November 13th for $499, but the discless November 12th. I don't know why I said 13th. But anyway, the discless version is $399. But $300, that's the same price as a Switch.
Yeah, I honestly don't think anything either of these two companies does affects Nintendo or vice versa. Nintendo's always, or at least certainly in more recent years, has marched to the beat of their own drum. I guess starting with the Wii really is where they just said, we're going over here. You guys do whatever you're going to do. It's fine. We're going this way. And the Switch has been the number one selling console for, I don't know, it's how many months now? It's been a while since either the PS4 or Xbox One has dethroned it atop the NPD hardware sales charts. And yeah, I don't think it matters at all what these guys are up to. Nintendo's going to keep doing its thing, and that's fine. Like it's great that they're not just all three different color. They're not just red, green, and blue clones of each other. Mm-hmm. I like that they're taking different approaches to things, especially Nintendo, obviously, with their sort of game design approach and their first party portfolio. So yeah, go Nintendo. I mean, would I love am I ready for that Switch Pro or whatever this new hardware refresh is going to be? Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm very lucky to have a nice new 4K TV, and I would love to have a more powerful version of the Switch, but yeah, Nintendo get a Nintendo, and everybody's gonna probably buy it and one or both of the other consoles as well.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think Nintendo is not going to drop the price for the Switch this holiday season. It's just moving too fast. Like,
why would
selling
selling
too well.
Yeah.
They're gonna do $2.99 with a pack-in. That's gonna be they're gonna have some value offering where you get 3 months of online free and you get this pack-in. Like one of their biggest games probably gonna be packed in like Odyssey or something, and they're just gonna wait this out until they get their new hardware and then drop the price.
What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, no, I think Pear's right. I think that it's just, they're just making too much money to try and drop the price. Like they don't need to be competitive. They're competing with themselves at this point. When switches are sold out constantly, when they have the 2 highest selling pieces of software in 2020, like they're obviously doing something right. They've clearly cornered a market there that like I don't think that they need to really and like Ryan said, like Nintendo doesn't need to compete with Sony and Microsoft because they've already got this built-in audience that just continues to get bigger. So
totally,
more power to
the
them.
price, man. PlayStation coming in at $3.99 was a surprise to me.
Yeah.
Like I thought they would. I thought the discless version would be $4.49, something like that, $50
totally
off
agree.
the full one.
Yeah.
And they coming in at $3.99. That is incredibly aggressive. That's getting
I was already
the price
leaning,
of a Switch.
Yeah, I was already leaning digital for PS5 since I'm going to get the Series X and that'll have a disc drive if I want to watch like a 4K Blu-ray movie. But yeah, $3.99 for PS5 digital when I buy all my PS5 or PlayStation and Xbox games digitally already. Like, yeah, I'm going to save the $100.
Yeah.
I just noticed something that I feel like we need to point out here. Ryan's got a couple of hidden Easter eggs in his shot. If anybody hasn't noticed yet, that looks like the next gen Xbox consoles behind you there, huh?
They're fake.
Well,
they are fake.
yeah.
There are pictures. Yeah, they send us some dummy units. They're hollow. There's nothing in them. If you want to see, it's just to get an idea of the size of them because the Series S is really small. Although maybe not by Nintendo standards. Nintendo fans are used to smaller consoles, but
by Xbox standards.
Yes, by Xbox standard, or quite frankly by PlayStation standards, pretty
too,
small.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a whole photo gallery comparing it to the Switch and every other console that I have in my house here during quarantine. If you just Google IGN Xbox Series X comparison pictures or comparison pics, I think that should pull it up real quick.
Nice.
I was gonna say, look how tiny consoles used to be. They got really big at one point.
Yeah,
that's Nintendo's 70s design here.
But hey, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us for this Mario chat and for this discussion about the next gen consoles. But I know you need to go run for next gen console watch.
Indeed,
so
the show must go on.
Yes.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, of course.
See you,
Thank you so
Ryan.
much for being here.
Seeing it, man.
Likewise.
Yeah, there we go. And we're back with some more news. And the only other piece of news besides that really big piece of news as far as like how expensive the PlayStation is going to be, there are some announcements for the Nintendo Switch Online coming out on September 23rd. So we got Donkey Kong Country last month, but now we're going to get Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest, and we're also going to get Mario's Supercross, which I would like Pear to speak on. We're also getting the Peacekeepers and SEAT Special Cybernetic Attack Team. I don't know anything about those other 2 games.
Well,
But-
I mean, first of all, you fell into the trap. That game is actually called Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Kong Quest.
Wait,
That's right.
It's
huh?
I see it run. Don't worry. It's a pun on conquest. Yeah.
Oh
Diddy's
gosh.
Conquest.
Very.
No,
I'm
dude.
sorry.
Everybody does that. It's just funny. And it's absolutely incredible, useless, but awesome knowledge. If you can share that at the party. If you just, you go to a party and walk up to people and say,
Actually-
Nobody's going to parties in 2020.
DKC2 is actually Diddy's Conquest. Yeah. So that's you guys know I don't love the Donkey Kong Country games as much as I love the Mario franchise, but I was always impressed with just the commitment to absolutely bonkers secrets everywhere in the series. And the second one is definitely a step up from the first one. So it's awesome that we get to play this so soon after the first DKC.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing Diddy's Conquest because I feel like I've played the original Donkey Kong more recently, but I haven't played the sequel in a very long time. So,
Yeah.
I actually
And
only had Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country 3. I never played the second one. So
oh, nice. You're in
Now
for
I
a
have a
treat.
chance.
It's a very good game.
Get ready to conquest. And then they announced Mario Super Picross, as you said. I figured you would lead with this story because obviously this is by far
This
the
is the
biggest
biggest news for
announcement this
Pear.
month. Yeah, Sony better quiver in their boots because the old Super Famicom Super Picross is coming back. It's a good game. This is an early example of this beloved Picross puzzle game nonogram series that you get to play now. It is going to be completely in Japanese. Nintendo couldn't be arsed to hire some hacker to just translate what little Japanese is in there. Seriously, it's not that hard. People do ROM hacks all the time. Surely somebody can do this.
It probably already exists out there somewhere.
Of course it does. But anyway, it doesn't really, like, if you've ever played a Picross game, it doesn't really need any explanation, or you don't need to be able to read the stuff in there. And if not, Nintendo also put out a how to play guide for it in English. It's a good game, but it is dated. Like, it doesn't feel as good as the Picross S series that you're used to on the Switch, but it's it's like you're literally chipping away at blocks in this game. It's like it's got the stone motif, and you're finding Mario characters and all of that behind the numbers. It's definitely worth a look.
That is about all of the news for this week. So, and there's not really much out this week besides Mario, unless there's anything you guys want to talk about, because I looked at the list and there wasn't really anything I thought.
I've only been playing Mario, so.
Just stuff we talked about last week too, right? Like Unrailed and all that stuff is out. But yeah, because of that, I went back and played older games.
And that's a perfect segue. So, what you're playing this week, Peer?
Because I've finally finished all these big long games across all these different systems, I went back to picking up Xenoblade Definitive Edition where I left it, and was instantly reminded how much I like it. I'm like 30 hours in. I'm continue to keep on playing. It takes a while to get back into the systems because you learn them over time, and when you don't play for a couple of months, it's like, how does this work again?
Yeah.
Would you say that you're really feeling it?
I'm really feeling it. No, I really enjoy this game. I think it's great. And then my daughter and I, we played through Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze together, and I already extolled its virtues last week. And so then we were looking for another Switch co-op game. Played some Unrailed, played some Hyrule Warriors, got annoyed with it, and we moved on to playing Captain Toad, which is fun to a point and gets super annoying in co-op because it's so hard to control the camera and do things together in some of the harder, faster levels. And then we went back to Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe, and we're playing that in co-op. And I remember how absolutely evil that game is. It's so evil.
It is. It's a lot of fun. I mean, if you want to get mad at each other, like lightheartedly, right?
But the takeaway is, man, the Switch is a fantastic console now for co-op games. There's so many really, really good co-op games just from Nintendo. And
totally.
I already talked enough about Picross, but I don't think people know what a joy Picross in co-op is. It's really good. Picross 2-player is fantastic.
I didn't even know that existed.
Oh, it's so good. It's you're sharing the same screen and you're solving things together, but every point you put down counts towards your score. So there's a little bit of a light competitive factor in there.
Okay,
it's really good.
Well, Zach, are you playing anything else this week besides Super Mario 3D All Stars?
Like I said, I did a minimum star run of 64. I did a minimum shine run of Sunshine, and then I did 60 stars in Galaxy, and then now I've been going back through. I think I'm gonna 100% Galaxy. I haven't done that since probably the game came out. So I'm going to go back through and try to get all those stars. And then maybe I'll work my way back through the other two. But I'm for the foreseeable future, I'm going to spend all of my time on Switch playing Mario because I just love a good Mario game,
Cool. Yeah.
Me too. I'm looking forward to it as well.
Yeah.
Although I might not play Mario 64 for a while because we had that game hooked up next to Sam's desk when we're still allowed in the office, and we just play a level every day and get a star every day. So it's pretty fresh in my mind. Whereas I haven't played Galaxy ever since it came out.
Yeah, same. I haven't played Galaxy since I guess the month it launched a long time ago.
Dang, that is wild.
But I think I'm going to try out Nexomon Extinction today. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll come back next week with impressions. It's a Pokemon game, but not Pokemon. It's called Nexomon.
Looks pretty well made too. It's definitely
it does.
Yep.
It looks good. That's why I'm excited to try it out. But with that, those are the games we were playing. So let's get into question block and ask some questions. And this first question is from Daniel Griffin. And this question was actually from last week, but I liked it a lot, so I wanted to bring it up. And they ask, what kind of game playing quirk do you have? For example, hoarding inventory and rarely or not using anything unless required, not letting a character get KO'd or killed in RPGs. And if you do, you reload the last save, worried that you did not interact with every single thing in a town or in an area, etc. What do you have any weird thing?
It's like he's reading my mind. I have to admit all of those. I am a horrible hoarder.
Me too.
To a fault where I keep things way too late. Like honestly, like just notice that in New Super Mario Brothers too. Like my inventory is always full. In Resident Evil, I'm always out of inventory space. I never want to use herbs. If I get damaged, I reload the last checkpoint. And then I would say the one thing you didn't, and Zelda always just carry way too many swords that I'll never be able to use, like one of each element and all of that. But the one thing you didn't mention is when traversing, just constantly jumping. Like I run through games. I don't just run. I go like do the triple jump all the time. And in Sunshine, I always jump, slide, jump, slide. Right, like. Or, whenever you're waiting for something, like in a game, you're waiting for an elevator or something, just constantly jumping. That sort of fidgety thing.
In Ocarina of Time, it was faster to do the
roll,
the side steps when you're an adult too, right?
Oh, yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
it's like backflip all the way to the castle.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that you could do like you could chain long jumps in 64. You could just like hit L and jump, and so you're just like wahoo, and you're just clearing so much space. Yeah.
In what was it in Twilight Princess? Just constantly swinging the sword while running.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you guys do any of the stuff he describes?
I definitely hoard items like in RPGs and stuff. Like I get to like later stages and have like hundreds of high potions and Phoenix Downs and mega elixirs and stuff. Obviously, I'm talking about Final Fantasy here, but yeah, that's I'm pretty guilty of that. I hoard stuff in RPGs a lot. Yeah, I'm also a constant jumper. I feel like I'm always hopping around in Mario games. But yeah, you're not too far off base, Pear. I feel like I'm right there with you. So
when playing RPGs, I have to talk to everyone in a town, or else I'll feel like I missed something. But this is something Pokemon trained me to do, because you have to talk to those NPCs to like, maybe one of them will give you a free Pokemon, like in Pokemon Yellow, or an item, or like, I don't know, there's a ton, or TM, there's a ton of important stuff that you get only from talking to random NPCs. So now I just like, well, I guess I have to do this every time. And if people are ever watching me play those games, they get really sick and tired of it, and it takes me forever to get through games because of it.
Right. So I find that is one of the more annoying design things that have popped up over the years, is this sort of if I don't talk to everyone, I might miss out on a secret. I find that to be annoying, as is like if you play games like Last of Us, going like, I wonder if there's anything in that house, and then you spend 5 minutes and the answer is no, and like I feel like there are better ways to design those moments. And actually, Xenoblade Definitive Edition, on your map, characters of consequence are marked in green. And so already that little thought changes things, that you go, because otherwise you run through town and guy goes like, I hate the rain. And then the next person's like, the rain, it's not so fun. You're like, okay, already, right? I'm with you. I honestly think it can break the flow of games when you feel compelled to talk to every character in town.
That is, so when I was a kid, I used guides a lot, because I don't know. I still had fun with guides, but with Pokemon, that's why I had it open to know, like, okay, like, where do I need to go to find all the items, and who do I need to talk to so I don't miss anything, so I don't have to come back. So I would like have those open for that. Yeah. But I also hoard, and that's one of the other things that I look up all the time, is like, okay, what items can I actually sell? Because I'm always afraid of selling something that will become useful later on. So then I just end up with a ton of stuff. Like in Skyrim, I just had boxes of random trash that I was never going to
Same.
use.
Yeah.
Cheese wheels. But I so appreciate games that have like a sell all junk button where you don't even have to think
Seriously.
about it.
Mhm.
And that is, yeah, those are, I mean, you can really tell when people really thought through the design when they offer you ways to figure out the value of things so that you're not constantly second guessing when you're taking an action. I really like that. At the same time, like you could argue, well, in real life, you never know whether something is valuable, and so maybe you need to hang on to it. But yeah, it's just there's so many games that encourage bad behaviors, like games where you just pick
Encourage
up everything.
bad behaviors. I love it.
Like 40.
Fallout, right? Like think about it. Like you just pick up random crap. Like
Yeah.
just constantly checking every shelf. Is that really fun? I'd add Metroid Prime to that, where it's like the action gets interrupted because you're worried about missing out on scanning something, because there's some enemies you'll never be able to scan later again. So you're constantly going brrr, brrr. So it's like a first person scanner. Or like take the Arkham games where you always pop it into detective vision to see something. And so you're spending most of the time of this incredibly
Well, it's
pretty
like
game looking at it in
easier
black
to
and
play through
white.
in detective vision. Yeah.
Yeah.
In blue and white.
I'm a notorious detective vision pinger too. That's a really bad habit too.
That's funny.
Yeah. So those are our gaming quirks. I think we have time for one more short question, and this is from Jason Lynch, and they ask, Are you planning on playing any Breath of the Wild inspired games that are coming soon, like Immortals Phoenix Rising or Genshin Impact? Zach?
Yeah, I definitely that Immortals game looks awesome.
I agree.
Yeah,
And that's coming
I'm
to Switch.
super stoked. I'm super stoked for that. I think that we're just now getting to a point where we're seeing games that are Breath of the Wild likes, like that the development cycle is just now getting to a point 3 years on where Ghost of Tsushima and Genshin Impact and Odyssey, like they're all
AC
sort of well, AC Odyssey was a couple of years ago, so that one was pretty quick turnaround if there was anything implemented there. But yeah, that Immortals Phoenix Rising game has a terrible name but looks awesome. Like I really can't wait to play that game.
I completely agree. I love what we saw at the Ubisoft Forward.
Yeah.
I think Genshin Impact is, in the end, it looks visually similar, but it is a very different game. It is much more RPG. Whereas like Phoenix Rising is a little bit more like an Assassin's Creed / Breath of the Wild game. And I will say, Nintendo did an amazing job with Breath of the Wild, but some of the gameplay elements were more reminiscent of Ubisoft open world games, right? Like the whole kind of climbing the tower to unlock the region on the map, like that sort of stuff was in Ubisoft games before it was in a Zelda game like that. So it's interesting to see now games reacting to Breath of the Wild, and what Breath of the Wild brought to the table was this kind of unshackled approach of saying, hey, if you figure out a way on how to get up on that mountain, go ahead, right? Whereas like a lot of games put up walls or have a closed door, and that door is only open when XYZ happens. Zelda's like, hey, knock yourself out. If you can muster up the stamina to climb up there, go for it. And then you get killed by a freaking Lionel or something.
Or you get all the way up there and it's like a purple rupee and you're like, well, okay.
That's exactly.
Sometimes the purple rupee is all you need. It's the last thing you get. Yep. It's good enough.
Yep.
Or you find a Korok and drop a rock on their head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. And with that is about all we have for Nintendo Voice Chat this week. Remember, you can catch us on Thursdays at 3 p.m. Pacific time every week. And remember, Nintendo Voice Chat is the only place you can
get the thing.